Hey guys, it's me, the Afro Hamurai, and I'm doing a review of the TR-6S. Now, as a side note, this is likely going to be like the last TR-6S video I do, not necessarily because I don't like making content that you guys enjoy, just that I've kind of covered everything I think I can on the TR-6S. I might still use it for like those dining table session videos where I do like, music with it. But I don't think I'm going to do any more talky videos about it for a while, unless you guys have anything that you want me to like do a video on that you ask me. So if you have questions about it, feel free to leave it in the comments. I'll reply to comments, and if there's a big enough question, I might make a video about it. But yeah, I haven't got anything else planned. So yeah, I thought I'd talk about some of the bad things about the TR-6S first, and then go into the good stuff, and then do a sort of summary / would I recommend bit about it. But as a long story short, if you're looking for your first drum machine and you haven't had a drum machine before, like I haven't, in fact, if you haven't really had any hardware and the first bit of hardware you're thinking of is a drum machine, then yeah, the TR-6S is very likely a good option because it gives you enough really good vintage analog models without necessarily needing to have to get each of the boutique ones separately. And it is really good value for money in that. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about some of the things I don't like about the TR-6S first, because I like starting with things I don't like and then ending with things I do like. Yeah. And first thing I don't like about the TR-6S, in the box, doesn't come with anything. So there's things that you kind of expect for your stuff not to come with. I don't expect my TR-6S to come with an SD card. I expected to buy my own SD card for it, but I did kind of expect for it to come with a manual, or at least some sort of like small, like quick start guide. The problem is this didn't come with either of those. It came with not a manual. It came with like a little QR code that you scan through, and then I think some safety information and a warranty card, and that's about it. Now you might be thinking, that's a dumb problem to have with a product. You just get the manual from online. I quite like actually being able to pick up the manual while I'm using the thing and like flip through it and reference it quite quickly. I just find PDF manuals are sometimes a little bit difficult to, just like really quickly find stuff in compared to just, flipping through a physical booklet that has it all in there. Also, as another downside, which is specifically to do with actually using the TR-6S, its sample workflow isn't exactly what you would think. And in fact, I'm going to reference the SD card again, so out you come. I have a 32 gig SD card inside the TR-6S. Now, what I thought was that you put all your samples onto this, the TR-6S reads them, the TR-6S will play them from here, and you can use them on whatever drum beat you want. But no, the way it works is that the TR-6S is going to read your samples from here and import it into its storage. I did a whole video about how you work with samples and the things you can do with them, but that on its own literally means that it doesn't matter what size SD card you have to an extent. This is just a library that your TR-6S can pull from, but it has to copy it from that library into itself and use its space that way. It's also very annoying to organize your samples because you can only organize it using the TR-6S's own controls and own dials, as opposed to, actually using, a tone studio or something like that on the computer. So that's quite a bit annoying with it. So if you're looking for something that's quite heavy on using samples as opposed to doing the drum synthesis like what this does, you're kind of going to want to do a bit of a look around. Maybe if you want to still get something Roland, you'd want to look at their new Verse Lab, or maybe something like the MC101 as opposed to something like the TR-6S. Those are the only two things that I actually had that were genuinely bad about the TR-6S, to be honest. So I'm going to talk about the good, and the first is actually its I/O. It has two full-sized MIDI in and out plugs. It also has your TS jacks for your outputs, so for your left and mono and right, dual TS, so mono jacks, USB plug at the back right next to the power button, as well as a headphone jack at the front. Yeah, this is made to be portable. Granted, you don't have multi-track jack outputs on the back like you do with the TR-8S, or I think even with something like the TR-08. I can't remember off the top of my head. Editing me will tell you if I'm right or not. But this is still pretty impressive, and Roland are still able to give you multi-track output on the TR-6S, so you have access to all of the 6 tracks before the master effects through USB. So if you're using the TR-6S for music production, you could have a pretty decent powerhouse to get like almost analog sound from it. Yeah. Also, by the way, I talk about the whole using it with your DAW thing in a video. It shows up there at the moment in 2021. I'm not sure if the card's going to move, but you know, there you go. Yeah. You're welcome. Speaking about almost analog sound, the ACB tones and even the FM tones in here are all pretty top notch. Putting the 808 sounds from here into one of the tracks that I'm kind of working on at the moment genuinely sounded a lot better than all of the sample-based drum kits that I was using before. For real, I actually think that this is just way better sounding than anything I've used in terms of 808s in quite a while. And the only thing I have that's marginally better is Sublab, but that's because that kind of gives you a bit more creative control over what like a standard 808 sounds like. Even then, that still needs samples. I wonder what would happen if I merged this with Sublab. It's actually a pretty good idea. Might have to give that a go. Yeah. I also like how lightweight and portable it is. You get really good battery life off of it. I was able to take it out with me and take it back, accidentally leave it on in my bag, and I was out for like 4 or 5 hours, and then I only really ran out of battery on the way back home. I was using the Eneloop Pro rechargeable, so that's a bit more capacity, I think, than what you get from like alkaline batteries. So don't take mine as this is exactly what it does, but it's pretty impressive taking into account what you can do on it. Yeah, I think the biggest overall thing about the TR-6S that's great about it is how immediate it feels. With a lot of my like dining table sessions that I've done with the TR-6S, with the Minilog, it's kind of been like, oh, I need to set up my loop pedal if I want to loop it and stuff like that, maybe connect the TR-6S up with it. And then it's kind of like, oh, you know what, I kind of feel like I need to have a think about what exact sound I kind of want. Whereas with the TR-6S, yeah, you still have to think about what sounds it is that you want from it, but you can just jump straight into making a beat and you're pretty much already 2/3 of the way there. I've been able to make entire tracks based purely off of the beats that I make on the TR-6S and then just continuing it within my DAW rather than having to kind of go backwards and really struggle to find something to do. I find it's a lot more accessible for me to make drum beats on the TR-6S, not necessarily because my DAWs are bad at making it accessible to make drum beats, just because everything on this is built around making drum beats, so it just seems to make a lot more sense when you're actually using it, and it just seems just that little bit more intuitive and ready to go. In summary, to kind of mirror my long story short version of it, I would recommend the TR-6S if it's your first drum machine that you're getting. If you were thinking of getting anything else, I can't really think of anything at this price range that gives you access to the amount of sounds that you have that are analog modeled, at least from Roland. There are other drum machines that exist that have their own separate sort of sounds that I haven't seen before, but this at least seems to fit in a lot with my music production and also just my general jamming lifestyle when it comes to what sort of drum sounds I want. Also, having like full-size MIDI outputs and inputs, really useful if you then want to start a DAW-less setup, or even if you want to use other synthesizers and have them all working off of one USB port, because this can take MIDI in and it uses MIDI through, so you can control other stuff. Yeah. I really do enjoy it. I think it's a great little piece of kit. Cool.